A continuation of the series on garden tips, and we're going to continue talking about tomatoes. I'm mainly going to talk about the difference between determinate and indeterminate. If you watched last week's video, we talked about picking your variety is one of the most important things. The next thing you need to consider is, do you want determinate or indeterminate? If you think of a determinate like a bush, don't get it quite as big, maybe 4 foot, stops, and then you have a pretty, you'll read in online and in the books that all the fruit sets at once. Well, I've never really experienced that. It will set fruit for a period of time, then quit. And, that period of time might be a month or two, I don't even know, I don't even keep track of it, where I don't even worry about that. So a determinate is more or less bush, more compact, and it actually grows in my area. I'm in 7B, Southeast Tennessee. A determinate grows for me a little better than an indeterminate. So you kind of need to think about that too. The harder you are, I think you would want to possibly go with a determinate. I'm going to test some indeterminates this year. We can talk about it as we go on. But for the most part, I've not had very good luck. I did pretty good last year with some indeterminates, so I'm going to carry on that this year with that test. So if you're up north where it's cooler, you get an indeterminate maybe. So determinate is more of a short bush, and you have a specific timeline of when your fruit's going to set and ripen. An indeterminate, you think more of a vine, and it'll keep growing and growing and growing. I don't know how tall they'll get. I usually lay mine over, so I've seen them get as tall as a high tunnel, if you look at some of these places. And that's the thing, the indeterminate, once it starts setting fruit, you won't get an intense set. Like with an indeterminate, you get like a big harvest. An indeterminate, you'll get so much all year long up to frost. And I've found that true. I did early doll last year, indeterminate, and it did great. Once it started going, I just kept harvesting. Where my other ones, quit when it got real hot. They just quit. This one kept going. So early doll did really good for me, even in the heat and the dryness. So the indeterminate's a vine. It keeps growing and growing and growing, and you'll get a lot of tomatoes all year long, but not an intense set. So if you're thinking about canning, probably you want to determinate. That way you have a big harvest there at one time, and you can makes it a little easier for that. If you want like a big slicer, eat 1 or 2 a week or whatever, you don't want to think about indeterminate. So that's the big difference. The indeterminate is a vine that keeps going and setting fruit. You can harvest all year long, whereas the determinate, you've got a window where you're going to harvest. So you need to think about that. So that's my second most important tip. And the third one that I'm going to talk about on this video is fertilizing. Of course, when I grow out here, I do soil tests, and it's a little different. In my main garden, I never really did that, or when I just did a small garden, I just fertilized it, and I usually just used like chicken manure, old compost that we'd grow, stuff like that. So I didn't use a whole lot of chemical fertilizing. So, but you need to watch your nitrogen, especially on tomatoes. They don't need a whole lot of nitrogen. If you do a balance, like I do a 20-20-20, like a 20 nitrogen, 20 potash, 20 phosphorus or potassium, and I like to do a balance if you're going to do that. For the most part, like if I'm doing, like in the high tunnel when I grow my tomatoes, I usually almost extensively use organic. And I get two and I mix them together and I come up with like a 5-13-13. So, and the thing about organic fertilizer, especially if you're not an experienced gardener, if you're just starting out, use all organic everywhere, unless you got like acres and acres. It kind of gets pricey then. I don't use organic in my main garden. I use a 20-20-20 water-based. and I go around and spray it at the base. That's how I fertilize this. I don't use like a granular or whatever. But if you had raised beds, you could use a granular. But the thing about organic, you can't hurt your plants. If you get a triple 10, triple 20, whatever, granular, and you throw it in there too much, it'll kill that plant because it'll burn it. So you kind of got to be careful, especially when you put it in there. So an organic, it's hard to screw that up. It just will not hardly kill a plant. I guess you could if you poured gallons of it in there. I guess it would, but I don't know. It's just hard to screw up. So I would recommend, especially in if you have a raised bed or one little area that you always put your garden, use an organic, and it's not going to cost that much more. But the thing about it is, you don't have a salt build up in your soil, and your soil will build better. You have a better quality soil over the long term. So that's my 2 tips today. Of course, my main tip was pick the correct variety for the zone you're growing in. So my second, determinate or indeterminate, decide which one you want. When you go to the store, you buy your plants. If you buy plants and it says determinate or indeterminate on that little tag, you'll know what we're talking about. So pick one that's good for your area too. And thirdly, watch your fertilizer. Don't throw a whole lot of nitrogen. And I'm specifically talking about the blue stuff. I don't know if I should mention the name, but and I use it on my mums like crazy. But I don't really care about that. It's cheap, and we're not eating mums, and it does really good for them. But if you put it on tomatoes and it says, it's a blank grow, you'll get a lot of growth, but you don't get a lot of fruit. We want to grow fruit, not leaves, in our vegetable plants. In our mums, we want leaves and then blooms. So that really helps for it. But watch your nitrogen, because it's like a 48, 12, something like that. And I could look it up. I probably should have, but be careful with that stuff. It won't kill your plants, but you'll get a nice, big, pretty plant, but you won't have any fruit set. So that's my thing. Let's go over them again. Number 1 is pick your varieties. Number 2, determinate, indeterminate. And 3, watch your nitrogen on your tomatoes. All right, hope this was a help. Give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, support your local farmer. We do videos on, right now we're doing Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. We do a live on Monday night. And you can come on Monday night live, every Monday night, 7:30 Eastern, and you can talk to me and the boss, and we'll answer any questions. I've just got experience, so I'm not super expert, but I know what I've done, what works for us, and how we do, and I'll try to help you any way I can. But we do like to have fun, joke around, so come over here Monday night, 7:30, and check us out. All right, Sports Luck Farmer. We'll see you down here in the farm next video.